All right, we're here at my tiny worm bin, and we're gonna check on our Raisin Bran stale cereal experiment. We're gonna see how our moisture control efforts are going, and then based on that, we're gonna go ahead and feed them. And the first thing I want to show you is this newspaper that we have on top. I've been wetting it down every couple days to try and keep the moisture high in here, and we gave kind of a moisture-laden feeding, so let's see how that's going. All right, so first thing I'm noticing is the top definitely seems more moist than when we were in here about 7 days ago, so that's good. We were trying to increase the moisture a little bit and a little bit at a time. So let's go ahead and see how our Raisin Bran experiment is doing. And right down here, I believe, is where we put the whole Raisin Bran. And I'm particularly looking for the raisins to see how they did. So let's go ahead and jump in here and see what we have. Now we're also running into some of the other stuff that was in here, like this apple. So apple cores are slow foods and they take a little bit longer than your other foods, even though you would think differently. Let's keep going. And this right here looks like something that I can't tell. Possibly a bit of the Raisin Bran. I don't know. It almost, to me, looks like some coffee that is kind of stuck together. But let's keep going down here. And I'm just going to lift it up and see if I can find the individual raisins. I am finding a worm or two right there. So they did enjoy it, but I don't see those raisins. So maybe they got to them, or maybe I'm just not able to find them. So let's go ahead and keep looking in there. Remarkable how they kind of go for different foods. And this is the carrot, and it was nice and firm, although it had been previously frozen. But I'm gonna squeeze it here and you'll be able to tell just how juicy carrots get. I mean, just mashed and full of liquid. So the worms kind of enjoy getting into carrots, although they haven't taken too much out of this one. And let me see, still no raisins, but I'm finding lots of worms throughout here, so that's good. And we started this bin with 612 worms, so we'll see if we can find some more. And oh, there we go. There's a bunch in that corner. I'm sure some of the moisture is gone down there and they are enjoying whatever they're within, and it looks like some coffee grounds. Here we go. So there's different pockets of this bedding here that is moist and some that is drier. So, oh, and here's another bunch of worms. So they're definitely going where it's more moist. They're enjoying that. And I did have someone comment on the fact that maybe they're sticking together based on trying to conserve moisture, and that can be true. And also, they're going for where there's food moisture. So, yep, right there is great. Let's go ahead and go down the center before we get to the other Raisin Bran, which would be the pulverized. And if I'm not finding any whole Raisin Bran, then I doubt I'm going to find any pulverized. Again, there's that apple, and then a bunch of worms right through here. Now I feed down the center long ways like this, but during each feeding I come in and aerate, and that kind of distributes the moisture, but it also distributes the air and makes sure that I don't have any pockets of fermentation or kind of ammonia smells. Now on this banana, I think we're seeing some mites, so I'm just going to kind of hold still and let's see if we can see the mites moving. All right, so that's not unusual to find some mites in your worm bin. It's just when you get big population blooms that you might want to think about, are there any parameters that have changed within your bin that are causing the mites to increase like that? And usually that can be overfeeding, that kind of thing. And here I'm finding a little bit more things sticking together, so I think this was some more of our dry food. So I'll probably skip the dry food right now for this feeding, and we'll just go with the foods that I had picked out, and we'll get to that in a minute. But again, I'm finding pockets of good moisture and then some more dryness. Now these small bins, this is a very tiny bin, 3 gallons, are a little bit more difficult to control the moisture in. The last round of this, the bin was way too moist, and I had population blooms of mites and potworms, that kind of thing. So I'm running this one a little bit more dry. What I found is it's very hard to keep it in the center, the neutral, neither too dry or too moist, but pretty easy to keep it moist and sometimes easy to keep it dry. So let's kind of keep looking on this side. And again, more worms, other little worm balls in the coffee and castings. All right, let's get the rest of this right here. And I'm definitely feeling it moist down below, which is where I'm finding the worms. So that's great. All right, let's go ahead and set up a feeding zone for them. And this feeding in particular is going to contain a lot more moisture than some of the other feedings I've been giving. And that's because it's going to be mostly lettuce. So let's go ahead and set up an area right here in the middle, and then we'll lay down our feeding. So here's what we had in mind for the feeding. This is all lettuce scraps from the garden. I think it's from my mom's garden. She gave me a bunch of food scraps. So we're going to go ahead and put these down. And I'm not going to add any more bedding. We seem to have plenty, and I don't want this bin to get too full too fast. So we'll go ahead and lay this down. Now this bin has been in progress for about 43 days, so it's still pretty new, which is why you see a lot of bedding and not so much castings. So it's been fed 5 times. We started off with pretty small feedings because we were letting the worms get adjusted. But now that they're doing well, I think they can take a little bit more of this very fast to eat food. And they're still working on some of the other stuff, but this will contain a lot of moisture for them, and I think they will definitely be attracted to it. So we'll add in all this lettuce and a lot of lettuce stalks, which get a little lengthy when they go to seed as it gets warmer here in Florida. So there we go. We'll set that up like that. And then we'll also add in some of their favorite foods, which are strawberry tops. And I got an audible from the executive producer. She said that looks like broccoli. So maybe these are broccoli stalks with some broccoli leaves. So that might be the case. Either way, full of moisture. And the last thing I'm going to go in here with is some pulverized eggshells. Just add that to every feeding so that they can use it to digest their food. They have gizzards, kind of like birds, helps them grind it up. And I don't mind it going into my garden. In fact, I want it to go into my garden. So you really can't add too much unless you're clustering huge piles. But either way, the worms get all into this and use it. So this time around, we're not going to add any oats or coffee. We're just going to kind of leave it how it is and see if we can continue to increase the moisture. And if you like this video, go ahead and like and subscribe. I've got 2 others. I've got an outdoor worm bin and a worm tower, a Vermihut worm tower that I do different things in. But this by far is my more challenging worm bin, especially early on as you try and control moisture. So we're just going to cover it up, and then I will add some more moisture to that newspaper and we'll add that on top. So let's go ahead and do that. Now I'm here in Florida and it's getting to be summertime, so our air conditioning is kicking on more often, which pulls the moisture out of the air, which is why this bin has a little bit more trouble retaining moisture. But in general, the #1 problem with worm bins is not that they're too dry, it's that they're too moist. So this is a little bit of a rare case for a small worm bin in Florida, indoors with air being sucked out. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope everybody's having a great day, and happy vermicomposting, everybody. Take care now.